All right, I'm about to head out to see It Chapter 2. I've been really looking forward to this movie. Now, it was released just recently, but already there are reviews out, and I've seen a couple of the non-spoiler reviews, and I know it's not good. I know the critics have not received it very well, but I'm still going to go see it. I'm not expecting very much, but it is a movie franchise that is kind of dear to my heart because I saw the original It when I was a kid, and man, that was so scary for me. That was like one of the most memorable scary movies I saw as a kid. Um, I thinking back, I probably didn't watch the ending to that series because I don't remember anything beyond the sort of eat battery acid scene in the original. So anyway, I'm gonna go see this chapter 2, and we'll talk about what we think later. All right, I just finished the movie. First impressions, it was pretty good. It was 3 hours long, and which is very long, but I would say overall it did not feel like it overstayed its welcome. So an entertaining way to spend 3 hours. All right, so let's talk about It Chapter 2. So straight up, I'm gonna say that the overall summary is that this is a movie with a ton of jump scares. It relies very heavily on flashbacks to when the members of the Losers Club when they were kids, and then so just flashbacks to them as kids, and then jump scares. So that took up most of the beginning of the movie. So yeah, it's not a very clever horror movie in that regard. But that said, the special effects are generally very well done, and there's some very gory and disturbing visuals that are entertaining. I mean, that's kind of why we go to see these movies, right? It's for that kind of shock and awe and entertainment factor. There is a lot of reliance on CGI in this second chapter, and it's obviously not as good as practical effects. But I would say that I didn't think that it detracted from the movie. We see so much special effects, computer graphics in movies these days. It's just kind of part of it. You kind of have to suspend your disbelief. In terms of the story, it's a bit of a mess. Like I said, the first half of the movie relies so much on flashbacks that you feel like the actual plot is not progressing. So yeah, it's just a big mess. And then there's a scavenger hunt aspect to it. People having to retrieve like a token as a sacrifice. It's not a very inspired story. Now that said, that we can't really hold that against the movie because it's based off of actual existing source material, namely a novel. And I guess there's this kind of sort of consensus opinion that Stephen King writes bad endings to his books, and so it is supposed to be an example of that. The ending isn't very strong. So you can't really fault the movie for that. They're just going based off the source material. And everything you've heard is true. They really do hammer that joke in really hard. Stephen King is even part of that gag, and it's a little overused. Another thing that I mentioned earlier was I don't remember seeing this part of the TV series that was from, I think, the 80s. I distinctly remember watching the beginning with the kids, but not the stuff involving the adults. And so I was more or less going in kind of without any idea how things were going to go, and the ending is a little bit disappointing. I guess people were right. Uh, Not so much because of the special effects. Yes, there is a giant spider creature that is in some kind of like final boss dungeon. It's a little bit contrived, but I don't have that many issues with that. It's more just that it's just how uh, Pennywise was defeated. You know, it's a very silly way that he was defeated, kind of like how um, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, how they defeated the bad guy just with like the power of friendship. It's kind of like that. It's a little silly, but I mean that's I don't know how else you could defeat a creature like Pennywise. He is supposed to be this kind of supernatural creature, and supernatural characters, if you can harm them physically through conventional means and conventional weapons, it makes them a lot less um, scary. And so I guess I wouldn't have liked it if they just beat him up. So I guess this is as best as we can expect. I wanted to say another thing because like I said, because the movie relies so much on jump scares and there's so many of them. Uh, the movie is very loud overall, and then just the whole final act where they fight the kind of boss form of Pennywise, that whole third act is so loud, so much just like crashing and uh and flashing lights. It was actually a sign at the theater that said that there are flashing lights in this movie, and so people with an epilepsy disorder should probably avoid this movie. Yeah, so it was very flashy and just so loud, and it was a little bit obnoxious. Another thing I wanted to just briefly talk about is Bill Hader's character, Richie. Um, so Bill Hader got a lot of compliments for his performance in this movie, and he seriously was the most enjoyable character, and that's because he was kind of the main source of comedy. Him and Eddie, uh, but mostly Richie, and so I think he is the character that is most easy to root for, and so I think that's why most critics really liked his character. Like I said, I found him to be the most fun character in this movie. Everybody else was very serious and just screamy and just they were scared. Richie, sure he was scared, but he at least made light of some situations, some genuinely funny jokes. Now that said, I don't know that his acting performance was particularly worthy of all that praise. I think it's an easy character to like, and I would say it's probably easy to pull off too. But anyway, props to him for landing a great role that that the critics really seem to like. I will also mention that the actor that played Mike got a little bit of praise as well because I think, was known as the Old Spice guy, and so nobody was expecting him to be able to pull off a performance like this, and so he got some praise. And again, I mostly agree with the critics. He was very competent as an actor. I did not see him as the Old Spice guy at all. Um, he not only looked different, his acting was just very convincing for like a veteran actor. Now that said, I didn't think his role was all that interesting. He kind of played that horror movie archetype of the guy who's kind of babbling because he knows information that can help move the plot along. So he's that character, and he's just relied on so heavily by the entire movie to explain the objectives right? Explain what needs to be done, and just kind of really just pushing that plot forward. Yeah, anyway, his character is just kind of there to move the plot. So bringing it all together, in summary, I would say that this movie is an enjoyable time. It's a long movie, 3 hours, uh, but it doesn't feel too long, mainly because of all of the constant, uh, you know, gory, uh, body horror imagery, right? That you go for. So it's entertaining. Certainly, there are worse ways to spend, um, $11 and 3 hours of your time. So don't go in expecting like it's some kind of well-woven story and extremely satisfying conclusion. Just go for what it is. It's a horror monster movie, and it's shot very well. It's very well done. The practical effects, especially, but even the CGI is pretty good. Um, so that's it. I'll see you in the next one.